Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Monoxide Podcast. I'm your host, Harris, AKA Monoxide, man of many automotive aspirations. You are listening to the Monoxide Podcast, where we go beyond the meat. One thing that we've known or realized in the car world is you meet people, you talk to them for 5 or 10 minutes, and you don't really get to know who they are. You basically are just like, oh, cool car, bro, move on. So having this long-form format and meeting cool people is really what it's all about. So today we have somebody returning. So Charles, we'll introduce you real quick because people already know you.
Yeah, Charles with C4 Productions, and I now work with MotionAutoTV since I last spoke with you guys. I think last time we spoke was down at TX2K.
TX2K, correct. 2023
this year.
Yep.
Yeah. And I've just been working with Trevor here beside me for MotionAutoTV doing video and editing.
Cool. You'll be silent the rest of the episode. No, I'm kidding.
Pretty much, yeah, that's my job.
And then, of course, we have Trevor from MotionAutoTV. Charles has told me about you for a couple of years now, too, ever since he started working for you. And just, you guys create some really cool stuff. Obviously, you're most known for your Super video. You were on Banging Gears, which is really awesome to see. I was kind of catching up on that whole debacle and all that. But first off, just kind of tell people a little bit about yourself right out the gate. I mean, obviously, you're well known, but let's just kick it off with that.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of it was just, YouTube back in the day. Started the channel when, I guess, hold on, let's think. When did we start?
I don't know. I mean,
a long time ago. So
you were like
2010.
Yeah.
Go back to
OG.
2010. I was building, I had a Datsun 510 that I actually got from my great grandma. She passed away. Kind of left it to my uncle through like the estate, everything. He actually gave it to me for my 13th birthday. So I was doing a lot of research online about the Datsuns and what you could do, how do you make them faster, how do you make them cool. And this car was a 72 Datsun 510 two-door, had a little L16 four-cylinder with a 4-speed manual, rear-wheel drive, and started doing research online. And they did a lot of racing in the 70s, like the SCCA stuff and the Trans Am racing series. And they were fast little cars, like they were competing against Camaros and all that other stuff.
They
and just
probably weighed next to nothing, too.
Yeah, and just tons of racing history. And so at the time then, this was, 2009, 2010, there was no YouTube. There's no YouTube videos. There wasn't really that much on Instagram. It was all forums. It was all online forums. And I was watching some stuff on YouTube. I uploaded videos of I was trying to sell a dirt bike, and, I posted a video and I HTML linked it in my Craigslist listing of oh, here's my dirt bike running, because I kind of liked that type of stuff. And so I had another channel that I uploaded random videos to. And then finally I was in high school and, I was going through all these forums and I'd already kind of done some work to my Datsun. And I was like, instead of doing a build thread, a 30-page build thread on my Datsun or on a drift car or whatever, why don't we do this in video format? And instead of it being a 69 Camaro on, Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning where it's some motor show of people, I don't even know what one it was, but I just remember growing up and watching TV, and it was we're restoring a 69 Camaro or a C10.
Yeah.
And that was it, and there's nothing really for Japanese cars or tuner cars or anything.
Yeah.
And, most of the media that you got from those type of cars and builds were just from magazines or build threads. And that's kind of where my idea came from, is let's do a video build thread of the cars. And that's where MotionAutoTV started.
Cause that's a good point, though, because when you go back to 2010, what was on TV? You kind of had West Coast Customs, of course, and then you had Chip Foose, where he did a lot of the American stuff.
Pimp My Ride.
Well, you also had the West Coast Choppers and that stuff that was really popular on, Discovery Channel and Network TV, but you also had to pay for that. And us, we didn't have Direct TV or some of that other stuff. So when we'd go on trips or we get a hotel or anywhere, it's okay, cool, go over to my uncle's house and we watched West Coast Choppers and watch them yell at each other and stuff like that. But it wasn't online now where you could go back and watch all the seasons and episodes. It was there'd be reruns literally playing forever on Discovery Channel. And I was again, I wasn't super knowledgeable back then about building cars, but it was just let's document this, let's figure out a way to showcase what we did, pretty much exactly what everybody was doing, like I said, with build threads, but just with video. So
is that a lot of what you did back then? Because the thing is, nowadays we're kind of spoiled. We can just go on YouTube and learn how to build a car in 30 minutes. What was your kind of resource back then, since you weren't really all that knowledgeable yet on building cars?
So my dad, he's always been a mechanic.
Okay.
So he had the really good basis of nuts and bolts and assembling, disassembling, putting back together, but not really much performance stuff. When I was in middle school, you know, from a young age, it was like lawnmowers. Me and my brother would argue over who mowed the lawn because it had an engine and wheels on it. Like anything with wheels, I was addicted to. Hot Wheels, you know, little miniature dirt bikes and stuff. I built like little tracks like in the yard, like at my house, and had little dirt bike like supercross ramps and stuff. Grew up riding dirt bikes, 4-wheelers, and then in middle school, kind of early high school, the nitro RC cars. So that was kind of, you know, my intro to really working on a car and modifying it and tuning it, is because, you know, you get different tires or suspension or billet control arms, or, you know, you blew up the engine in your little Traxxas or whatever, and you put this little pipe on it, and then you had to adjust the tuning with the carburetor and, you know, all that stuff. And that was kind of, so I had kind of a base of knowledge from that, you know, very miniature. And I think that's like a really good intro for anybody to work on cars, is because you have, especially a nitro RC car, because you have pretty much all of the systems that are on a normal car, just a very small, not really scary version of it, you know. And so yeah, I did a lot of stuff with that, and that's kind of where I guess I had the base. But like I said, my dad, he knew the nuts and bolts and the maintenance and replacement, but not really the performance. And so that's kind of where, you know, magazines, you start looking at stuff, you get on the forums. And back then, drifting in the early 2000s, there was like, you know, the 240SX forums and the Sylvia forums and stuff like that. And that's where I got a lot of information for the Datsun, because it had the old L16, a 1.6 liter carbureted engine, and I wanted to make it fast. You know, that was like the main thing. So I started looking at SR20 swaps and these turbo kits from Japan and these like tuning things, and you could get this turbo that was 400 horsepower, and it was just, you know, my mind was blown, you know, that the fact that these people were putting this Japanese engine in a Datsun 510 and fuel injecting it and doing all that other stuff. And so a lot of my resources was the forums of just like following guides and build threads and, you know, asking questions on there. And the first swap I actually did to it, I put like a Mikuni carburetor or whatever, like a little side draft on it. And, you know, it ran decent, and I drove it up and down my dirt road a couple times. But then I got a fuel injected KA24DE out of like a 95 240SX. So like that was kind of my first intro of like wiring, you know, and doing some stuff like that. You know, and there was guides on how to, you know, cut and weld the cross members, and, you know, radiators that fit and headers that fit, and, you know, drive shafts and all that stuff, and how you had to take them to a drive shaft shop and get them lengthened. So yeah, I mean, it was, a lot of it was just kind of trial and error, I guess, almost similar to how people do it on just today, of watching somebody else do it, but just in picture, you know, in descriptions and write-ups instead of like actual video. Kind
of like a, like, what is it, like WikiHow or whatever, like you just like Google something, it just gives you a step-by-step with pictures, but then you kind of took it to the next level with like video and all that. So I mean, your channel's obviously changed over the years. So early on, how much of it was, I guess, what was the goal? Just to make cool shit and share cool shit, I suppose?
Well, I mean, I guess part of it was, there's a couple of things. You know, I was addicted to cars. I liked the idea of it. I seen kind of an opportunity to do something that somebody, like, there wasn't people doing. Because I think that was one of the biggest things that I seen on some of the forums, is like, people wanted videos of the car, because everybody sees the pictures of them, they see the description, they hear the write-up, and they talk about the dyno numbers, and they post a dyno graph, but there wasn't really many people sharing the experience of the car. Like, all right, that's the first start. Like, it seemed like the people that posted links of their car running got moment, like, people were just excited about that build, because not only were they reading this build thread for the past 2 or 3 years, now they actually get to see that vehicle start. And that's why the video kind of intrigued me.
It kind of was like a shared experience almost. Like, that's super cool. Like, all right, we're finally to the video where we started up. It's actually working. Yeah, I could see that'd be pretty awesome in that regard.
And then I guess another thing was money. You know, like we thought that, you know, obviously I was in high school, and I used to buy and sell cars on Craigslist, and you know, did a lot of stuff like that.
Good old
I was always
Craigslist.
trying to figure out how to, like, you know, make a little bit of side money here and there. I've always had like the entrepreneurial spirit. You know, I used to sell gum out of my backpack in middle school.
Oh yeah, that's a throwback.
Bus, you know, and like just that type of stuff. So I was actually writing articles. There was this, it's called ehow.com, and you could actually sign up as like a writer on there. You know, and I'm in freaking high school. You know, and I wrote an article like how to buy and sell cheap cars on Craigslist, because that's what I did like all the time. I was just like constantly buying and selling stuff, and doing stuff like buy a Honda Civic that needed a head gasket or it was wrecked in the front. And that's kind of where I learned a lot of stuff too, was kind of testing on these cars that were low. I wasn't building a SEMA car for my first car. It was I was putting a head gasket on a Civic, making sure that it was good, and then I sold it, made some money, and then I put that money towards something else, and I pulled a little money to the side and then put it towards the project car.
The fun car, yeah.
And so yeah, that was I started writing articles on that ehow.com of how to change a light bulb, and just like, because there was nothing like this. It was such a new platform, but the how to buy and sell cars on Craigslist, I was getting like $120 a month off of this article, and I just thought it was so cool. And then my brother, he started doing some more of the YouTube style stuff, and he was like, what kind of videos was he making? Some just random ones, but back in the day, you actually had to apply for the partner program on YouTube, and it was a big process. You had to submit like all of your tax information. You had to like write an article. You had to submit video, and somebody literally had to go in and like actually approve your account. And so he got approved on there, and he started making money. You know what it was? He was actually doing. We had these terrible cell phones, flip phones, and
that's the thing you recorded your dirt bike video on in like 144p.
Yep. And so even with, it's kind of silly, because almost it was like we went to like the Bandamere at the Truck Fest, because we were like, with our parents, we were young and we had cell phones, and he just started recording every single run of drag racing.
Yep.
And uploading it to YouTube and titling it what it was. So then it was like Duramax versus Cummins, and this was 12 years ago on YouTube when there's no content.
When nobody knew about SEO.
Yeah, no one even knew about like, oh, I can post videos on the internet and watch them in perpetuity.
And
what?
So, then it was like 6.4 Power Stroke versus 5.9 Cummins, or twin turbo Cummins versus 6.7 Power Stroke.
Literally races that people had never seen before, because there just weren't, that wasn't at their local track.
And so that's actually what he started making money from, was these freaking 20-second clips of these drag races just titled properly. And so like he was doing these like random videos, and I'm writing these articles, and like we kind of had this little discussion about it. And like I was kind of more so towards the articles. It's like, I'll just sit here and write these articles and do this stuff. And then this was before MotionAutoTV. I had my other channel that was just random videos. And so he was actually making money on there. He was making like $200-300 a month on YouTube, and I'm like, what? This mother's making money, and I'm not.
That was good money in 2010 too, or
especially when you're in high school and it's just like internet money. Like it was weird. Like nobody that we knew was making money off of the internet.
It's such a weird realization. Like I just started making money off of TikTok. I made like $2,000 in like 60 days, which is huge to me, because like I'm like, I can get monetized on this. Like I'm just making like money from the stuff I love doing. Yeah. So that's so weird, and especially like in 2000, the early 2010s, it's like that didn't exist. Like I didn't know you could get monetized on YouTube until like 2014 from like Minecraft videos.
Yeah, it was wild. And so we were monetized really early. And another thing that we started doing was, there was a website that was called Commission Junction.
Okay.
And so it was like a really big affiliate program where you could go in, and like even Advanced Auto Parts had like a Commission Junction like portal thing set up. So like I would go and apply, and this was actually when I did start working on Motion Auto and doing stuff like that. But I think if I sold like a battery, like if somebody did like online pick 'em, but because everything was super new at that time, but if I sold like a battery through like Advanced Auto Parts on Commission Junction, I'd get like $40 or something like that.
Oh wow. Okay.
Wow.
Like it was like an interesting time on the internet for that type of stuff. Now you have like Amazon Associates and all that other, but
and then TikTok Shop too. That's there. Have you guys looked into that one at all yet?
So I think we signed up for it. I don't think we really implemented it. It's more of a thing, and we do sell a lot of merch. And that's something that we can maybe get into in a little bit. But
yeah, for sure. But no, like TikTok Shop was like kind of like what you're saying. It's like, oh, you could like sell something on behalf of Advanced Auto Parts or whatever. So that's super cool. Like I found out about that one like a month ago. Like one of my buddies, he's got like, I want to say 100,000 followers on TikTok or something like that. And he did that. He made like $1,500 off those stupid Mexico racing stickers or California racing permit or whatever it was. And it's just wild, because like there's this kid in my neighborhood. He has a Huracan, or actually he just moved out of my neighborhood, but he's like 19, got a Huracan from online Amazon BS or whatever. But then he's like, oh yeah, this TikTok Shop's a money glitch, and it's like, but he's on the selling side, not the buying.
So it is like Amazon FBO or something like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. So it's just
FBA or whatever it is. Yeah.
Just seems to be like money's like falling out of the trees for these young kids nowadays.
I mean, you just get in on the ground floor on something, and then I mean, honestly, I don't know if it's like luck or if it's
part of it.
Right time,
I mean, I think
right
a
place.
lot of it is just timing and being early, you know, and
Yeah.
seeing something that somebody else hasn't done. And I think that that's like almost a good thing for me, but almost like a bad thing for me,
Yeah,
because
because you are like that.
well, like I feel like I see a lot of stuff early, like obviously like the YouTube thing and monetizing it and doing all of that other stuff. But then I feel like I get so busy in it that you don't actually
You don't optimize.
look at anything around you, because you're in there. You know, you kind of
Yeah.
put your blinders on
In
and
the
you
fog
just
of
start,
it.
yeah, you just start working, and then like all of a sudden 10 other things have popped up in the time that you're still doing that one thing that nobody else was doing. But now everybody's seen that that is now a thing, but you could do this, this, and this to optimize it, but you're still doing the first thing because you're still kind of trucking along to a certain extent, you know?
So I'm curious. So when was like the perspective shift? Because like when you're early on starting on YouTube, like the thing is like Mr. Beast says, for example, is like once you're not really a YouTuber until you get to like 100 videos or whatever. That's like when the real quality starts coming. Like when was the perspective shift for you? Like when you started upping the quality of your content?
I would say we started doing like the very first videos on the channel were like buying like it was a '89 Fox Body Mustang. We bought it on Sunday. It was like primered. It was a $400 or $500 like 5-liter LX hatch like Fox Body Mustang, and it had like body filler like dripping down like the roof over the thing, because somebody was just like jacking around in their driveway, and they like rattle can primered it. It was terrible. They didn't mask anything, and they like put body filler on these dents. And it literally, they put so much on there, it like dripped over the door to where like when you open the door for the first time, because they hadn't opened the door, it like broke the body filler because there was so much like, it was just like somebody's very first time, they're just like, oh, let's goop this on this dent. They didn't sand it, they didn't do nothing. It was like a weird car, but bought it cheap, brought it back to my dad's house. This was my first paint job. This was my practice paint job before I was going to paint my Datsun 510. And so me and my brother and one of my buddies, we literally like stayed out in the garage. We bought like 10 cans of Rust-Oleum rattle can primer, and we sanded it with like the DeWalt, you know, Home Depot sanders with like 180 grit, and just sanded the whole car down. Like we were just covered in dust, and then like all basically grabbed a rattle can and, you know, went around the car until our fingers hurt, you know, like rattle can in this thing. And then the next day I got like some single stage paint, like just the wrong way to do everything. It was my first paint job. But then we painted it. So we basically, from start to finish, on Sunday we bought it, worked on it during the week, and then I took it to the Friday night drag races on Friday basically that week. And so that was like my first build on the channel. So we just did like a really basic time lapse and stuff. And I would say that was kind of the vision. After that, we just started uploading random stuff. I kind of went back to like the default of like, let's go to the drag races and upload 50 diesel truck runs and title them weird and, you know, do some stuff like that. And so there's actually, if you go back to my channel, it's like Mustang, like a 20 or 30 like diesel truck drag race videos, which there used to be like 200 on there, and I've just like deleted all the ones that like didn't have any views. And then kind of just started doing a lot of the buying and selling stuff, and kind of almost didn't really mess with the YouTube as much because it didn't really have, I don't know, I think I just got busy, you know, like working on stuff and then buying and selling cars. And then we kind of ended up getting a shop. Me and a buddy went in on a shop together, and from there it was like, okay, well, let's just kind of video the week of stuff. So I'd upload like one video a week, and it was just this jumbled mess.
Motion Auto Monday.
It was Motion Auto Monday, but like it was just like I would be working on a 6-liter Power Stroke for 10 minutes, and then or 2 minutes in the video, and then we'd do like a burnout in something, and then we'd like clean the shop, and then I would ramble for 10 minutes, and then I'd upload a video. You know, and I'd get like 500 views, 1,200 views, and like slowly they kind of started picking up. I think I was averaging like 3,000 to 4,000 views, and I think I bought an Evo, like a wrecked Evo 9, and that was kind of like a project that a little bit more long-term on the channel. That one did well, and then like I kind of got to this stage where in early 2016 where I wasn't really making money on YouTube. I was buying and selling cars. It was like inconsistent, and I was just like, man, what do I do? Like, do I continue with this YouTube thing? Do I not? Like, my brother's making really good money. He's working at a power plant. And I was like, do I just go do that with him, or do I continue on YouTube? And I was like, what do I do? You know, I'd built my drift car, and it was LS swapped, and we did like a 1JS13 that I like bought and kind of did and sold it.
So what were you doing to make like income at the time then? Like, what was your primary source? Like,
buying and selling cars.
Buying and selling cars is
so
the main
like
thing?
That's kind of what the shop was we initially had it there to kind of, you know, I overran my dad's garage. It looked like a used car lot outside, you know, of all this stuff. And so I was like, okay, well, me and my buddy, we got the shop. He had like some project cars and some 240SXs and random things. Same thing with me. I had my drift car, and I had like a Turbo Civic. And the shop rent back then was just super. It was like $800 a month for a 2,800 square foot building.
The good days.
And we were splitting it, so it was $400 a piece.
Oh my god.
And it was like, and I was living with my dad, you know, and like the only bills I had to my name was the insurance on my truck, my phone bill to my dad, and the $400 a month to him. So it was like,
and gas, but that's like,
yeah, like it was crazy how cheap everything was. So it was like, I didn't really have to make a ton of money, but I wanted to make more, you know, and I was just like seeing my brother making money, and I was like, damn. And there wasn't really, I guess, the formula at that time. It wasn't like buy a wrecked car, fix it, put 20 videos out of it.
You had to figure it out on the way.
And then so I made a video, and it was like a live stream, and I was like driving around in the 1JZ Swap 240, and I was like, guys, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, you know, I don't know if I should go get a job. Like, what do you think? I was like, I really wanted like build a car, like a good car. I want to build a Supra. And then was just like, oh, they're too expensive. You know, they're freaking 15 grand at the time. You could get a running NA, like 5-speed or auto car for like 15 to 18 grand, which is like really cheap now. But, you know, at the time I'm like, man, these cars are freaking expensive. And so I started I asked in that video. The video didn't get that many views, but one guy, he messaged me from Chicago, and he's like, hey, I have this project car. It's a Supra. It's sitting in a field, and, you know, he sent me pictures of it, and it's just rusty. And, you know, no windows, no glass, like no hood, no interior, like limited interior.
Graffiti all over it.
There was multiple colors. Like it had different panels from every panel on the car was off of a different car other than like the quarter panels. Just super ratty. And at the time I had already built my 2JZ S14 drift car, which had a 2JZ, a CD09, a manual transmission, engine, wiring. I had like everything on a switch panel. And I was like, okay, well, like I could build this Supra and it would look like a Supra. Like I can make this car look like a Supra, because it's like, well, I did that with my 240SX with my drift cars. Like I put a Japanese 2J, a Nissan transmission, you know, we had a custom drive shaft made. Like I've done this. So even if it's not 100% OEM, I will have a Supra if I just work on this thing. And so we ended up going out there. He only wanted $3 grand for it at the time. And so $3 grand, no title, sitting in a field, like rusty, but it wasn't like bad rust. Like the car is insanely clean underneath, but it just had surface rust because like 10 different people had tried to turn this thing into a race car. And so it just looked bad. But yeah, we went up there, grabbed it, brought it back, and then basically made a video on that. And it was just like insane. Like I think I was averaging like 4,000 views a video before, like working on an Evo or, you know, doing some stuff on a Civic or going to a drift event. But then as soon as I got that, I'd have to look back at the analytics. But
the formula was starting to kind of make sense to you at that point.
Yeah, so like we went and got the project car, and I'm pretty sure that video hit like over 100,000 views within the first like week or two.
Wow.
And it was just like,
yeah, going from that small of viewership to then hitting that first 100,000. I mean, maybe not your first, but like
I think it was the first 100,000. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, even hitting that mark, that's insane.
Yeah, it was wild. And then then the next thing, it was like, all right, well, what is the next thing that we could do to make a video about this thing? So then we made a video of looking at it. You know, not only did we make a video going and picking it up and kind of looking at it, then it was like, okay, we brought it to the shop. Then it was like, all right, what do we have for this thing? Like pull out all the boxes, lay it out on the ground, look at it. And then it was like, what do you think we should do with it? And that video was like the same thing. It was like 60,000 views.
Yeah, start telling a story.
And then the third one, I think I had a 2J laying around. Or I think we sandblasted the car, and then we started doing body filler and like just doing body work on it. And like that video, you know, same thing, like 40 to 60,000 within like the first week. And this was there was no LZ, there was no Cletus, there's no TJ. This was like 2016. Like
he's really first to market.
Nobody was doing this on YouTube. And yeah, that was kind of it. you know. And I think like I kind of got distracted in a certain sense because I like almost thought like, okay, well now I'm getting, you know, almost 100,000 views on stuff. I could do anything, you know. So we started drifting and we started like kind of messing around. The ad rev, you know, we went from making like $800 a month to like $3,000 to $4,000 a month, like consistently.
Which is huge. I mean, that's basically what people get in a salary.
Yeah. And that was for me, like jacking around, working on my Supra, you know.
No expenses, like
very little
simple.
expenses.
Yeah, get paid to do what you love at that point. Really, like, start experience. Like, that's the thing is, like, I always tell people, like, the second I start getting any sort of YouTube, TikTok money, I'm gonna just full send it on a stupid build. Like, I would love to turn my cute little GTI into a full-blown rally car or something, or time attack missile, who knows, but something crazy like that. So you started messing around drifting mostly then at that point, or?
Yeah, I think I just kind of got like almost distracted. You know, I didn't know what I had. I didn't know the opportunity, and I think I just, instead of working on the Supra and just trying to get it done, it was like it would sit in the corner for 3 weeks. And then I would pull it out for a couple days and sand on it and make a video and prime it.
Like there wasn't a sense of urgency, kind of.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, we need to get this thing done. And I was like, this is what I love about YouTube, you know, because we could build a car over 6 months and, you know, like it's not like a TV show where they have to build it like a whole car in an episode, which is kind of crazy.
In 30 minutes with commercial breaks.
Yeah, and you look at those shows and it's literally a full-on transformation every single time in 30 minutes.
On most of them, it's 2 transformations in an episode, 2 full car builds in a single hour-long.
Oh yeah, because they would like cut between them. Yeah,
and then
like,
so how long?
Like they'll start one in the middle of an episode, and then like finish the other one. It's like half and half. But yeah,
last episode you saw us working on this, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
this episode we're gonna be pulling this thing out of the shop.
Especially when you go back to like West Coast Customs, it's like, all right, we got over here, and then we got, I forgot the names of the other guys, but we got him working on the interior, so they show like 10 minutes of that guy working on the interior, then you go over here.
I feel like they didn't even show 10 minutes.
No,
they showed like
10
seconds.
10 seconds,
of it. They're like, he's putting together the interior.
Boom, it's done.
And that was almost one of my biggest frustrations with TV is you did not see the work.
Oh, okay.
You know, at all. Like especially the paint and body work. What TV show have you seen where they literally sand and primer and block and do metal work and sheet metal work for weeks? Because that's what it is. Like these shows, they do not show that at all. It's like they almost bring in the car, take it all apart, lay everything down on the ground, show you cleaning some stuff, painting a couple things, maybe painting it in the booth, maybe 10 seconds of like body work. It's in the booth. They roll it out and they don't even show assembling it. It's like it goes from like rolling out of the booth to like a commercial break, and then it's like the big reveal, and then that's it. But I'm like, okay, that episode of that show, how long did that take to actually?
6 months to film.
Well,
and like
I think with those shows, they had a lot of guys there. And there was, I mean, the amount of hours that the people doing the bodywork and paint put in on those things. And like you hear about like the shows, or like, you know, the people that were working on, they're just getting burnt out because they're getting pushed to their limit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why in those shows that they're like yelling at each other and screaming at each other and stuff, because they're like, I'm burnt out, I'm tired. And they're like, they haven't gone home, like their family, their wife, you know, all that other stuff. And I'm like, this is the nice thing about YouTube. But like now, it's almost the same with YouTube. Like you have to do so much in a video to keep the attention, you know, maintain that.
You should really add that in. You should start throwing shit at Charles.
Like, I mean,
we've thought about it.
I'm the blame guy here, so I do like all
anything that's wrong.
Anything that's wrong is my fault.
I think every series needs a blame guy.
Well, yeah, it's just my fault. Like even if I have nothing to do with it, it's just my fault.
Your existence. No, I gotta say, you guys are angels on earth, because I love watching channels like yours, guys, because like I'm not very what's the word I'm looking for, great at working on my own car, because like I just don't have the confidence to get in there and work on stuff. So like every time, if I can watch like a video of like yours or whoever else and pick up like 1 or 2 tidbits like every episode, like that's the value that I see in it. I'm not sure what other viewers look for. I mean, what do you look for in a channel like that?
I mean honestly, like I feel kind of I'm not a good audience representation. And
Neither am I.
I don't think that Trevor would be either, because like we don't watch YouTube.
Like, right, exactly.
We don't really have. I mean, I watch a little bit more than you do probably, but you just don't have time. Like when you are a YouTuber and when you do this full time,
correct,
there just isn't enough time in the day to be able to go and watch all your friends on YouTube and what they're doing and keep up with them. And
we're in a unique situation where like almost the YouTubers that we're in like this like category with, I feel like we're in like a chunk.
It's like a bubble.
It's like a little bubble that in like
at the center of that bubble you have LZ, TJ Hunt, Cletus McFarland, Donut Media, those big channels, and then
like Hoonigan and
Yeah.
you know, Taylor Ray and Boosted Boys and PFI, you know, like we're kind of in that circle of like main automotive channels, and it's
Right.
like I know them all, but I also don't want to sit there and watch all their videos, because then I find myself like wanting to do that, because through the videos, which I think happens with video in general, is people get excited about a project that they didn't know anything about.
Yeah.
You know, of like K-swapping an MR2. Like all of a sudden you watch Kyle do a K-swap in an MR2, and then find myself looking on Marketplace trying to find an MR2 to K-swap, and I'm like, well, I can't do that because like I want to do that because that looks like a lot of fun, but Kyle is doing that. So what is something original that I could do? So I almost need to kind of stay off to a certain extent to keep my own rhythm and my own ideas kind of fresh, you know, because otherwise you just kind of turn into you wanting to do what they're doing because it looks like a lot of fun. Because, you know, again, on YouTube, it's a lot of.
So you try to hide yourself from that kind of. It's like you don't want to get exposed, so you don't accidentally do it. So then, do you typically, from what I was looking at on your channel, it seems like you mostly stick to like the Japanese kind of cars for the most part, right?
I would say probably 75%.
75%.
Well,
right?
I think one thing about me is I love everything. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Exactly.
matter. Like when I'm scrolling on Marketplace, like I'll see like a Porsche GT3 RS, you know, and somebody wants, you know, 180 grand, 200 grand, whatever. And I'm like, man, that's sick. But then also I'll scroll across a $400 Geo Metro, you know, and I get excited about that. And then I'm like, oh, can I find like a cheap Hayabusa engine, and maybe we could Hayabusa swap a Geo Metro, and, you know, like I'm all over the place. And then I see like a, you know, a 70s like Ford pickup, and I'm like, man, I want to get one of those and put a Power Stroke in it and do a frame swap. And like, I'm all over the map.
The amount of ideas that you give me, like that you run by me, you're like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? Like every single day we have at least 2 conversations about ideas. We're like, he's a big idea guy, I'm a big idea guy. Like, I just love ideas.
I love potential.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that's my thing is, and I know that I could extract it. My problem now is just having the time, you know,
Right.
especially with running YouTube as a business, because, you know, it's not only just me anymore, it's me and Charles. And then if we have anybody else in the shop helping us out, we kind of have like some like temporary part-time guys that kind of come in on certain times when we need help on like bigger projects and stuff. So it's not like we have like, you know, 5 employees 40 hours a week getting a ton of stuff done. But yeah, like right now it's just how to manage it all. How do you get everything done? How do you be creative? How do you post videos? How do you pay bills? How do you do the accounting? How do you then go work on the car? And
then not only that, enjoy the car too, because that's another big problem.
And
is
then
that
go-
we don't have enough time to even enjoy a lot of these cars, just because there's so much going on.
Well, there almost has to be a reason.
Yeah.
There has to be like a reason or a purpose. Like, you know, a lot of YouTube people, you know, YouTubers in the last month have had a lot of exciting content because they have a reason. SEMA prep. We're going to SEMA. We're getting our cars ready for
every
SEMA.
channel.
Or World Cup prep. You know, they're like getting their cars ready to go to World Cup. And like me, I'm like, okay, well, like we're not going to SEMA, we're not going to World Cup. Like our biggest thing is we were working on the RSX, which was the giveaway. So it's like, okay, we got to finish the car for the giveaway. So that was our kind of main thing.
And we should touch on that a little bit about the giveaways. That's another huge part of our business model, is that we do give away cars. Much like you see like 8080 or Tuner Colt, or I mean, any number of these giveaway companies that have popped up in the last couple of years. But Trevor was really honestly one of the first people to kind of see that vision. I mean, 8080 started what, like a month before you?
I think they started probably 6 months.
6 months
before
before
us. So
wow.
I actually seen the concept before they launched it. And again, like I feel like I see stuff before other people. I see the potential, and I'm like, damn, like we should do that. Like we can do that. And Dave from the Diesel Brothers, and this was before it was Diesel Brothers. They kind of had a lot of online social media pages called like Diesel Sellers and Diesel. They just did a lot of diesel stuff. I think they were even called Diesel Brothers then. But they did a truck giveaway, and they had like this viral video of like one guy was like in the bathroom, and they routed an exhaust hose into the bathroom, and then like, you know, like
Rolled coal.
basically rolled coal on him in the bathroom. And that video went insanely viral on Facebook. And then from that, their page got a lot of traction. And then they did a truck giveaway with like the rubber bracelets, like literally like the penny, you know, they cost pennies for a rubber bracelet. And like that's how they gave away the truck, was like that. They literally wrote rules. They did sweepstakes attorneys. They did all that stuff. They figured out how to do it. And instead of it being lottery tickets or anything like that, it was just, you buy this bracelet and you get entered to win this truck. And they did that, and they did T-shirts, and that was kind of, I seen that, and I was like, damn. Because, you know, that was one thing with me is I always had these project cars, or, you know, for example, like the 1JZ 240SX. I built that car on the channel. It was a sick car. Ran and drove sick. It had nice taillights. Like, it was a cool car. But when you go to try and sell something like that, nobody wants to give you any money for it. But everybody wants it. Everybody's like, oh, this is a sick car. But how can you, as a YouTuber, put all of this time and effort and energy and money into a car and then sell it for way cheaper than you have into it? Like, that model doesn't really work.
Right.
You know, because you're like, now you're spending money to build cars. And especially with being a YouTuber, I feel like it's the most expensive genre on YouTube, because, you know, unless you're building houses, but normally if you're building houses, you're like flipping them and making money off
right
them.
Yeah.
So it's like almost that same thing, is how can you build a car on YouTube, get the audience excited about it, use it for content, but then also not lose money on it when you go to sell it, because again, the ad rev isn't as high as it used to be, or you're not getting the views to then bring in brand deals to do stuff like that. So it's like, well, what can we do? Well, we could basically show everybody this sick car. It's also an excuse for me to like kind of scratch an itch that I've wanted to do. Like, I've always wanted to build a turbo K series all-wheel drive RSX with heat and AC, and it's like a stock car, and, you know, like
custom paint job, the whole nine.
Custom paint job, like all of it.
You
like,
were talking about that 2 years ago.
I've been trying to build this car for like 3 or 4 years. I had a RSX Type S in high school that I traded for a turbo Honda. Like, I got an RSX Type S in like 2008 or something like that.
Yeah, then we also just had an RSX like, what, 2 years ago? And
I had 2 RSXs 2 years ago.
Two RSX, the blue one and the silver one. And that, we didn't do anything with those cars.
So it like scratches an itch for me. I get to experience the car, I get to build it, but then also, like, you know, the idea is hopefully you don't lose money when you go to sell it, and that's why we do the sweepstakes, you know, the giveaways and stuff with them.
Actually kind of makes sense, because, like, I mean, you do, like, if you get like a $20,000 or $30,000 car, $40,000 car, and build it up, and then, I don't know, there's something to be said. Like, if I'm watching a series for like 10 or 12 episodes or however long it is, and then there's a chance that I could win that car at the end of it. Which, by the way, I love the merch you guys have. Like, like we talked about this, I think a couple months ago. Like, you guys have some of the best looking merch out there. Except I'm too broke to buy it right now. But nonetheless, it's like, you guys have a good artwork. But nonetheless, like, if you can watch an entire series, pick up a couple shirts along the way, and then, you know, potentially win it, I think that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think one of the problems that we're now running into is that everyone has shirts. Everyone has the merch. Everyone has.
I got free merch all the
designs,
time.
And then everyone is also doing, like, other YouTubers. Like, again, when I was doing this, nobody else was doing it. Like, and it was kind of interesting too, because like LZ, like, he had done T-shirts, so I'd never done T-shirts, and I met him at SEMA in 2016, and started chatting with him then, and, you know, I talked to him about this concept of like doing the giveaways and stuff, and he had done merch. Like, he's been selling merch out of his, like, you know, dorm room, like when he was in college and stuff, like, you know, packing and shipping and folding and doing everything himself. So he had the merch game down as far as all that stuff went. So it was kind of interesting when we first launched our first giveaway, which was a 2JZ Nissan 240SX. He was actually with us. Like, he came out to Colorado and he kind of did like a little tour, and he was doing some drifting stuff. So like, he went from Florida, I think he went to Connecticut, and then he went to somewhere in like Wisconsin or, you know, whatever, somewhere up north. And then he came down and hung out with me for like a week, and like we went up to Pikes Peak.
Drove your S14 with the 2J up Pikes Peak.
Yeah, we went and drifted. We did a bunch of other stuff, and I think this was before he even had like 1 million subs. But yeah, like, so he helped me a lot with just like, okay, buy this thing to fold your T-shirts, buy these bags to put them in, you buy these poly mailers, but don't buy them from, you know, Amazon or whatever, because they're expensive. Buying them off eBay because they're the cheapest, you know, and like, buy this label printer, and, you know, it was just like a cool collab. But even like, I guess when some of like the numbers first started coming in from the, you know, obviously I wasn't getting that many views back then, and I think what he's seen in it too was the fact that like they did well. And so I think it was 6 months later or a year after we did our first one, he did a giveaway too. And so it was kind of cool, because like, I learned the whole giveaway model of, you know, the sweepstakes and the attorneys and all the fees and how to set all that stuff up. But he had all the merch, so we kind of traded information of that stuff, and it worked out really well. But yeah, I mean, now he's doing them. I mean, everybody's doing them, and it's almost back to back. And I think it's because the content is so expensive, the ad rev is so low, and it just costs so much to produce this. And instead of, and even in the position that I'm at right now, I'm like, okay, well, do we keep doing giveaways, or is there another business that's more stable? You know, because a giveaway, it's you're not guaranteed to make money. Like there's, I would say, a lot of the people that try them lose money
immediately.
Like,
right out the gate, because like
especially now.
Yeah, if you're coming out, like we've been doing this for like 6 years, right? And so like we now have like a customer list that we can fall back on. We have all these different things that an established company has, and when you start up a giveaway company, like I used to do ads on my own, and I actually did a couple ads for this random giveaway company that popped up. I don't even remember who they were, but they gave away this like 2500 Ram, you know, lifted truck, and they spent like $80,000 on the truck and did one ad for it and just completely lost all of it. Like just didn't sell.
Yeah, the bulk of it should be advertisement, I'm guessing, right?
Well, it really depends. That's the beauty of YouTube, is you don't have to pay to advertise. You know, like if you're getting,
we have a built-in audience.
Views,
yeah, true.
It's essentially free, you know, to advertise your own giveaway on the stuff. So instead of doing a brand deal, and you know, reaching out to a company and say, oh, okay, pay me this, or you know, this is what we'll do a 60-second integration for. You essentially do an integration in every one of your own videos, to where you have like a guaranteed brand deal, but you are the brand, but you're just giving away the car. And I think that that's the thing is, you know, I don't want to distract myself from YouTube right now and the potential of it, of content in general. And then so that's like, what other business could you run that also, you know, because I'm the guy, I do everything, you know, as far as like the business, the accounting, the financing, the buying the cars, the working on the cars, to doing everything, like filming clips with them, like driving them, like it's everything. And then add another thing to try to make money on that. The giveaway is the easiest one because it kind of fits in.
Right.
Especially if you're already doing merch. Like we were talking with somebody last night, and it's like, yeah, you have to learn how to do 10 other jobs overnight if you want to, you know, do a giveaway, because you got to do the merch and the shipping and the fulfillment and the customer service and
marketing,
like,
content.
Marketing, and you know, it's just a lot on top of everything that you're already trying to do as well, and put out good content. So
that's the struggle.
That's the tough part. So then I guess, is there any concern about flipping the content to something else, or have you thought about, because like for example, I was watching like the time-lapse kind of videos, right, where it's like a whole 10-minute video. It's like beginning to end. Obviously, that's like we talked about earlier with the TV shows. It's like you only have a 30-minute window and it's 6 months worth of work or whatever. That's obviously not sustainable to crank out a 10-minute time-lapse every single week. So I guess what is the plan, I guess, content-wise going forward? Are you still going to be doing like these sort of like builds as they are and then the giveaways, or I guess, are you kind of sticking to a model, or are you changing anything?
We're kind of up in the air right now. I feel like we've changed a lot of things, especially since Charles just came on in the last, you know, 8 or 9 months since he's been here full time. I feel like the quality has stepped up, because he's able to actually sit down and spend, you know, 6 to 10 hours editing a video.
And was that you before?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
oh wow.
Yeah, I edited pretty much everything. Probably about the last 2 years, he's edited almost everything.
Okay.
But now that he's actually in the shop, he could go out there and get extra shots. I could look over his shoulder while he's editing and be like, okay, let's change this, let's do that, let's add this graphic.
And just optimize the videos in the best way possible in terms of a quality standpoint. Because like that's the one thing that I have full control over, and that's the one thing I know that I can get across in the videos, is that like we know what we're doing. And it's almost like, I don't want to toot my own horn, but it's almost TV show quality. Like we could probably pitch this to someone if the content was right. And I think that's the problem that we're running into right now, is that we just haven't found the Supra again. You know,
Well,
we haven't found that
right now. There's
spark.
Yeah. Well, and how do you get that again? You know, again, there was momentum when I did it because I was kind of there early.
The only one doing it, yeah.
Like I wasn't putting the best videos on YouTube, like by any means at all. Like the first Supra videos are terrible. Like
horrible. I cannot watch them.
And again, it was like literally I pulled out the camera, I went out there, ripped a video, threw it on the, like literally edited with the record button, cut a little clips here and there, intro, outro, and freaking uploaded it to YouTube, and it got 100,000 views. There's no way. I mean, obviously the videos that we're doing now, you know, with the 6 hours of editing and the 3 days of filming of, you know, of like building the car and telling the story and making sure that it's right, or even filming over the course of a couple weeks, you know, of this other video that's like sideline that nobody knows, but we're putting it together in the background to release in 3 weeks, along with our other content that's kind of more real time. you know, it's in those videos get 20 to 40,000, and I think a lot of it's just because there's so many good creators, and then you have companies that have big money that have came into the scene, and they're like, okay, well, like,
who's big, who's hot, let's pump money into them.
Not even that, they just make their own content. They just
look at Haggerty, for example.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking immediately. Haggerty, their content is so good. I tried to replicate a couple of their things, and like it's possible. Like I found out how to do it with like rotoscoping and all that fun stuff, but it's like they're creating awesome content, and even like Top Gear's half decent now too with Chris Harris and all that. Like that's actually watchable.
Yeah,
but like
I mean, TV. It's again that TV show aspect, you know, and that's what grabs a lot of people. And going back to that TV show aspect, we should talk about the 10-minute video of the Supra and what that did to your channel, because that was, I feel like, the catalyst for everything that's happened in the last 4 years, I would say.
Yeah, so I guess like a mega viral video, our Supra, you know, obviously I got the Supra done. It took me about 2 years start to finish. I feel like I could build that car today in like less than 6 months. Like, and it would probably be way better.
2 months.
Probably 2 to 3 months if we actually did it again, just because, you know, now we know. But, you know, again, I was messing around at the time. But anyhow, I had like 50 videos, you know, of that thing that I basically, one afternoon, there was a couple other channels that had success with like the 10-minute time-lapse builds. And, you know, they had like simple things like, oh, I did wide body over fenders on my RX-7 in my driveway. 3 million views. You know, somebody else like swapping a car and painting it, 1 million views or whatever. And like, I'm like, okay, like if like
it's all that's good, it's in that like 5-minute crafts format,
like
where
the
it's
satisfying
like
thing and
EDM music, chill music, maybe a little bit of overlay, voice audio somewhere, and it's all sped up. Like it's literally 50 videos worth of content in 10 minutes.
But I seen that, and I was like, oh, if people think that's cool, they're gonna like this,
you
know. And
we'll send it. Yeah.
Like I was like, all right, well, here we go. And I literally got on YouTube one day. I spent an afternoon. Like I think I left the shop. Like I was at the shop working on something. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna like download all these videos and like make this 10-minute video. So I literally put it in the timeline. The timeline was like, I think it was like 20 hours long, and I just like cruised through it. And I was like, cut the intros, cut the outros, cut this, cut all the talking. Just basically leave the time lapse section, deleted all the audio, threw some like songs in there, and I got it down to about 20 minutes. And I was like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna make this. How could I cut this out? Because there's so much content. I feel like it all told the story of the build. So it's like, oh, you know what I'll do? So I just highlighted it all and I hit ×2. So and then it went, the 20-minute video then went to a 10-minute video. And I was like, you know, the one thing about like the other videos is like, yeah, it's cool that they built the car in 10 minutes, but then what did they do? And then I was like, okay, we'll put like a minute or two at the end. I mean, like doing burnouts and having it on the dyno and all that other stuff. So we uploaded it and it got no views at all. Like it was like my worst video that I had uploaded. And then it, you know, I think it had like 10,000 views in the first week, and then it like kind of trickled up after that. On the third week, it was just insane. Like it was like there was a freaking lightning bolt that hit it, and it was just like, and it just went crazy. At one point, it got 2 million views in 24 hours. So like if there was a trending page back then, it would have been
top of the trending.
On it, you know, like. But again, that was in 2019, 2020.
Yeah, Whistling Diesel.
It was
who?
2018.
It was 2018.
And so anyhow, from that video, as of right now, we turned it off on the channel just because I was tired of looking at it because it was making me mad.
Well, it gained us one video, gained us a third of our subscribers.
So 200,000 subscribers have, because it'll show you like how many people subscribed from this video.
Yep, 190,000.
Yep. So it's crazy.
190,000 people came for a 10-minute crafts video, and we don't do that kind of content. So then that's kind of where I think our struggle with YouTube has come in, where they see a channel with 600,000 subscribers. Well, you're only getting, you know, on a high side, 50,000 views. And that's
they just see an unengaged audience. If they see a third of your audience they have not clicked on one of your videos since they subscribed, they're like, man, this guy must have really changed his format. His audience doesn't even like it. Why are we going to push these videos to anybody else?
But it's interesting that like the people who do watch the videos are ranting and raving about the quality and the direction of the channel,
at the comment section,
like where we're going. Like it's not like they're, oh, you guys are the best. It's like we're along for the ride and we really enjoy this, and like most of the time it's like, hey, thank you for uploading. Like
committed audience. That's the thing. You are telling a story, and people love to see that sort of story. Like I keep bringing up Tavares, right? Like I was watching his whole P1 series. It's like, because like I just got invested, and I didn't really watch him up until he got that car, because that's what drew me in. I'm like, all right,
So that's like his Supra now.
right? That's kind of like, and that's the thing. It's like a 12-part series. Every single one's getting 2 million views or something ridiculous like that. Just gnarly, but
then how do you compete with a P1?
well, it doesn't necessarily have to be a P1 though, because that's the thing. Like if you go to like, for example, like there was like a video that went viral on Instagram like a number of times. It was an Aventador right next to it, and then this, I think it was an S15 just sending it right out. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, the pink S15 that was in Europe at a car meet.
Yeah.
And it, Aventador is rolling out, and then the S14 goes.
Yeah.
I get that, but like,
there's a certain level where you can't just keep leveling up. Like we're not all gonna like, as cool as it would be, like eventually there's a ceiling. Like not all of you guys.
Mr. Beast.
Well, yeah, he's the exception, but like there can't be 10 of you guys all doing a rebuilt Koenigsegg video. It just doesn't make sense. So that's kind of where like diversity is super cool.
Yeah.
And whether you're sticking to your niche or not, but like not everybody has to do a P1, because like again, there's a reason a Supra did well. So it's like Supra versus P1
to a certain extent. It was the P1 of 2016.
Exactly.
Like that was the car. It was the JDM Legend. It was the whatever. And I think one point that I wanted to talk to you about was like, these companies like Haggerty and Hoonigan and Donut Media, they actually have like essentially a boring business, and then they could do content. Our business is content that's very volatile. You don't know what is going to do. You could upload a video and it could get 2 million views, and you're a genius. Or you could upload a video, get 20,000 views, and people are like, what's up with those guys? Why'd they do that? But it's like, if I would have just, if you get good views, you're a genius no matter what. If you don't, you're like, what's wrong with that guy? Or, whatever. Yeah. And that's kind of our dilemma right now.
It's such a bummer with the audience thing, though, because like that's exactly what happened with my Instagram at the beginning of the year, right? So I doubled my following, then I doubled it again, then I doubled it again. So I went up to like 28,000 followers, like, in a week from 14,000. And what happened is like I did this dumb like Bugs Bunny video, like it was stupid as shit, and it went from 3 million views to 6 million views, and that second 3 million views was a lot of Brazilian and Iranian people. So it's like a bunch of these, well, first of all, there's a lot of bots because that's an Instagram problem, but also just a bunch of people that aren't going to engage with my other content. At the end of the day, I'm a photographer, videographer, but and nowadays, like thankfully the highlights from these podcasts get a lot of traction now, which is pretty sweet, because this is what I love doing. But again, I'm still stuck with rough engagement on Instagram because I got 14,000 unengaged followers, just half my following.
So yeah, we recently did that too
on Instagram. Yeah,
we had a Rodnock prank video, 18,000 views. We went from 85,000 on Instagram to 125,000. So we gained 35.
You said 18,000 views.
18 million views. 18 million.
That was it's at 19 million as of probably tomorrow. Like it's still growing. Like it's at 18.9 right now.
Wow.
And like we gained 40,000. No.
Yeah. 45,000.
No. 45. Yeah. And not one of those people.
Well, and the crazy thing is like on my Instagram stories, like I used to average, a certain amount of viewers, and I feel like it's almost less now because
it's crashed. Yeah.
Because people see them unengaged followers. But it takes so long to build a page, to build a following, to do all this other stuff, especially now when you have so many amazing creators that do have an authentic following, an authentic channel that they have earned. And I think that's what one thing that I did in the beginning is like we earned all the subscribers.
Absolutely.
With the super video, because every super video, it was terrible. So
and they were there for you.
And they were there for that.
The car.
They were there for the terrible stuff. So anything I did past that was an improvement. Whereas then you have all these people that have this expectation of a 10-minute video or a 19 million view, 30-second reel on Instagram that was super satisfying, super cool. Now that content doesn't represent what you actually do.
Yeah, you can't replicate it. Not consistently, at least.
Yeah, unless that's what you're doing. So it's like, I feel like almost the lesson to be learned is like, don't upload anything that's not genuinely you, or like what you actually
1,000%.
want to do. And if you're going to chase shit like that, you just need to chase shit like that. And that should be the only thing that you do. Like honestly, like that's what we should be doing. Every time we do like a skit or something that's kind of like fabricated on Instagram, it does well because it has the thought. We know the punchline. We know this thing. And I feel like that's one thing that like me and Charles go back and forth together really good on is how do we get a good product? How do we make it hit?
There's something that we do, and we like when we're talking about titles, thumbnails, for example, and we do this with reels and other things, but we start just saying things and just going back and forth and riffing, and we'll sit there and we'll say, no, that's not it. We're almost there, but that's not it. We need to get closer. We need to get it better. We need to optimize more. And I think that's a huge reason why you and I work out really well. It's also a huge reason why we butt heads.
Yeah. And I think that it's really good because if he said yes to everything I said,
that'd be a problem.
Then yeah, and if I said yes to everything that he said, then
major problem.
We're just limited by whoever says yes to everything, or whoever's coming up with the shitty ideas that somebody's agreeing to, like.
Yeah, last thing you want is a yes man. That's gonna be the death of everybody. Just because if you say yes, like that's the thing. If there has to be pushback. Because like that takes an idea that's like 10% of the way there to 80% of the way there, and then you just keep getting better. So I agree.
So I think another thing that you asked about the format, the formula, like what now? And I think this almost kind of leads into that. Is really what now? And that's one thing that we've been struggling with. Is like,
what do we do?
I almost think it's like we've thought about a different YouTube channel, a different Facebook
literally
page.
Starting from scratch.
Start again with genuine content from the get-go with every video, us going back and forth saying, this is it. And we don't upload anything that isn't what we want and that doesn't hit how we want or doesn't tell the story how we want. And I feel like almost starting off from the ground floor with that authenticity, you have the chance to really earn your subscribers versus kind of getting lucky and then the algorithm just kind of, you just like playing this weird game with the algorithm. So yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing because at the end of the day, like you have to make money doing this stuff, and that's the other challenge is how do you make money without pushing the audience away by pushing your own products, or pushing giveaways, or doing too many brand deals, or doing weird stuff to try and get views because you're like, okay, well, I know if I build a car, I'm going to get 20,000 views. If I upload a video of a first drive, it's going to get 30,000 views. If I blow up my engine at the drag strip, it'll get 45,000 views. So, okay, those are the things that I could do. These are the views I'm going to get. So then you throw some left field stuff in there. Okay, now
either works or it doesn't.
It works or you don't. If it works, you're genius. If it doesn't, then you're a goof. But you almost don't even know if it's even going to work unless you do it for 6 months consistently.
Yeah, and we tried to do the whole like whistling diesel thing where you destroy things.
That's such an expensive one to do, though.
It really is.
It wasn't like specific. We jumped a Ranger off a cliff, and we thought it wasn't like a copycat of Whistling Diesel.
No, we weren't trying to copy it, but like that style.
Like
where
if we were going to copy Whistling Diesel, I would go buy like a newer niche car that had a cult following, and I'd ruin it. Yeah. The Ranger was just like, okay, let's send this thing
It's a truck that is rod knocking. It doesn't really have a purpose other than a shell for another project.
I had a great idea for that thing.
You wanted to build a Power Ranger, and I think it's a great idea,
well,
but not that one.
So it's all right.
We're gonna do it again. You bought we pushed it off a cliff, and we videoed it, and just didn't go as well as we probably could have executed. There were certain things that just didn't go according to plan, and the video didn't do as well as I thought it was going to do. I was going around.
I thought it would eventually maybe take off later, but it just didn't. But again, you don't know. Like Whistling Diesel, he uploaded like almost 2 years of messing up stuff and doing crazy, ridiculous things
until he found that formula.
Until he kind of found the niche, found the audience, they found him, and then he continued to build from there. And he just kept escalating it. But he doesn't upload videos that aren't genuinely him.
Yeah.
Genuinely that. Like he's not going to upload a video tomorrow like destroying a 95 Honda Civic because who would give a crap about that? Nobody.
Right.
Like I mean some people, like the Civic people, but you do that to a Ferrari, everybody cares about it.
Yeah.
Including Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, I think there is some value to having a second channel, at least because, like you said, you could build it from the ground up. It's a different audience for the most part. You get to have some of your loyal audience switch over to that just to see something. Like for example, Cooper Baghetti. He has his main channel, and then he has his podcast, and his podcast gets anywhere from like 10 to like 30K views. I mean, not including the big ones with. Like, for example, he had Cletus on. I think that one got like 500,000 or 1 million views or whatever. But, and then, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't longer videos have more monetization as well in them, or not really?
Yeah, you have, YouTube, it's how many ads can you deliver
correct.
in a time period. So if a user will sit through ads in a longer video, then you can make more money on that. But if a user just gets upset because there's so many ads in a long video, or they just can't handle long videos because they're used to shorts, you know.
That's something else that we're seeing is like the death of the attention span.
Which is interesting because here's the thing, like the attention span, I suppose, like TikTok is particularly pushing people to do 60 seconds or longer. That's the stuff I make money off of, right? Whereas opposed to a lot of other people, they make it off 15-second videos or whatever, the goldfish out there. But I think it just mostly comes down to audience and what they're willing to watch, right? Like, for example, like, again, Tavares is like, he has a 45-minute videos. You have some of those, like, 30, 45-minute videos. I'm willing to commit to them. Until I got YouTube Red or Premium or whatever, like, I'll watch through the ads. And that's the thing. When you have a longer video, I feel like you're usually more committed to finishing it. I don't know. I might be wrong on that. But like,
the psychology behind that makes sense. I mean, if you look at then you look at the algorithms and what these companies are trying to accomplish with their apps, right?
Correct.
They don't want you going to another app. They want to keep you on that app for as long a session as they can. Right. So if they feed you, let's say that you are a person that watches 15-second videos, they're not going to feed you, 3-minute podcast clips because you're not going to watch that. And so they optimize everything for keeping you on that specific platform as long as they possibly can. And if your content doesn't deliver on keeping them on that platform, good luck.
Which is where you kind of come in, because, like, again, like I said, before we even started this podcast, I love the editing style you guys have right now. Like, it's a bummer that we had to do this because I was actually starting to watch the video. I'm like, all right, I'm starting to get a little bit invested here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the other thing is, like, editing styles have changed drastically in the last 2 to 3 years because of this goldfish brain that we got going on. I feel like if it's a 15-minute video, every minute has to count.
Every second has to count.
Every second, yeah.
And the first 5 seconds of the video are the most important.
Yeah. I'm curious.
It's also, there's the deep versus the wide, theory, because I feel like Mr. Beast, he's really wide, but he's not deep. He's super general. Like, he makes a video of, like, destroying things, and within the first, like, 30 seconds of the video, he put a Lamborghini in a crusher, and then 30 seconds after that, they drove a train off a cliff, and it's like anybody else that would be at least that would be one video each, but he did 5 of those in like a 10-minute video or something like that. But then you have other people, like, and I think it's a different demographic, it's a different audience and stuff. But there's this one guy, he does concrete for a living. His name's Victory Outdoor something concrete, and he literally puts a GoPro on his head at the beginning of the day. He's like driving, talking to his workers. He has like a crew of people like working on this stuff.
He videos himself getting coffee.
Like getting coffee, like, one guy came and like basically quit. He's like, hey, I'm I got another job. He's like, oh, okay, like go home. I'll see you later. Like I'll write you a check to next week or whatever.
And he titled that video, "He Left Me" or something.
Yeah, like he fired, but like he will literally upload an 1.5 to 2 hour long videos of his day of like the concrete and talking with the customer and like talking, going like the banter between him and his employees and stuff. And like the employee will leave like the window down in the truck and he'll like get mad at him about it, and it's like it's literally his day. But 200, 300, 600,000 views on a 2 hour long video that is not optimized for engagement. The title isn't crazy. It's not a crazy thumbnail.
And it's those videos that make me question everything I know.
Well, and again, but like he's earned that audience doing that. If I did that tomorrow,
they'd be like, what the hell are you doing?
People will be like, what the hell are you doing? But if I started a whole new channel and that's all that I did, and the people that came and subscribed to that channel, you would slowly gain. So then going back to like, what do we do now? I don't know. We're trying to figure it out.
I definitely do like the idea of having a secondary one, because again, that you could also have the main one be like the experimental one or whatever, and then move. I don't know. It kind of gives you like almost like
a testing bed type of thing.
Yeah, testing thing, but also a little bit of security. Like, here's the stable one. Here's the let's see what fucking happens channel.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a bad idea, and we've had lengthy conversations about that, and we've even like talked about shutting down the channel and transitioning over to another channel. And
because I think 2 channels is tough, especially 2 good channels, because you have to make sure the videos that you put out on either one are good. And so I mean, I guess right now we're kind of weighing the options of can we continue with like the whole building cars, doing car giveaways, or do we go towards like building a business around like parting out cars and salvage and like almost junkyard stuff.
Kind of like Scrap Life Garage.
Yeah, and like that's something that I feel like I could do really well, because that's one that I love buying and selling cars. I love buying and selling trucks and parts and building stuff out of the junkyard. Like I feel like that would be a really genuine version of something that I want to do versus trying to chase these million view videos or 100,000 view videos, or just trying to get our videos to even resonate with our current audience and just like not even knowing what to do because it's not working.
Yeah, you want it to be consistent. Like you would rather be getting 100 or 200K per video, but as long as it's consistent, that'd be a lot more, I guess. It's just, it helps out mentally too. Because like if you have this huge 10 million spike and then the next one gets 400 views, like, oh,
I mean, honestly, like I would be okay with like 60 consistently.
Okay.
Because it sucks right now, because like sometimes we'll upload stuff and it'll get 14, and then sometimes it'll get 60.
Right.
You know,
if we had 60 consistently, everything would be significantly less stressful. Just minimum of like 60 would fix everything.
It would fix not
everything,
it would fix everything,
but it would fix
like,
most of the massive problems that we have.
Well, just when brands look at it, when you're doing it, you know that you're gonna have a certain amount of engagement, and it's just consistent. But it's like everything's just up and down all the time, and it's like I don't know if you can get that consistency anymore, because there's other channels that, you know, they're not getting they have millions of subscribers, you know, and they have a genuine audience, and their videos, you know, one will get 1.5 million, the other will get 700,000.
Yeah, it is rowdy to see that.
That's a huge difference, you know. That's a bigger difference from 20 to 60.
And it's tricky when you're talking with brands, like you said, like, because like brands like consistency. Yeah, but no, to your point earlier about taking stuff apart, like Scrap Life Garage is my favorite channel on YouTube. They're at like 300,000 or 400,000 subs. I don't know if you've seen them at all or whatever.
Yeah.
But my favorite, just because like one, they got great personality, but also like I learn a lot of stuff, and I'm actually kind of curious, like how much money are you gonna make on this? And then they do like, I think they do like little competitions time to time, so that's super cool. I mean, that'd be a fun one. I mean, you could experiment with it, see what happens.
Yeah.
It's a good way to part out stuff.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, then also like could set up a bit of a business, you know,
Well,
and that could be the baseline for everything that we do.
That's a boring business that could support a YouTube channel that could also help.
Right.
Like that business could stand alone by itself.
That could be the secondary channel.
It could be a secondary channel, or even a third channel. But and that
let's get to number 2 first.
well, so we actually technically do have a second channel right now. We have a podcast channel, and we film 3 podcasts, then we stop. And I think we just need to go back to like whatever we do, we need to commit and like go all in. Not all in, but like we need to go a decent amount in. Like,
well, you have to be ready to like almost not even start a podcast channel unless you're going to upload on it
6 months straight
consistently for a year. And even after that, be like, well, I don't really care, because I just wanted to do a podcast channel, and that was what we're doing, is a podcast channel.
And the podcasts that we have are great. The people that we have on the channel are great. Like Mad Mike. What are the odds that you could have a podcast with that guy, like in the environment that you were in, talking about the cars and talking in that environment? Like, it's just a really unique opportunity. And I think that you know, with a little bit of direction, we can make it go far.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be even big names, right? Because like,
no, not at all.
Because you could have somebody like, for example, like I saw like one of your, is Koenig like a sponsor of yours officially? Yeah. Okay, first of all, I love Koenig, but like for example, you don't necessarily have to have somebody big from the brand. You can have like one of the engineers come on the podcast, talk about how the wheel's made,
exactly, stuff
like that, because it's actually interesting. And then guess what? Then you could take 3, 4, 5, 6 clips from that single hour episode, put that on TikTok, because that's where I make my money. And it's like, you know, it's $1 per 1,000 views roughly in the car scene. So it's like, you know, you have the podcast, repurpose it. Takes me about an hour. So that there you go. Charles' time is paid for. So just ideas, I suppose. I don't know.
No, that's good. Yeah, the TikTok thing's interesting. You know,
yeah,
like
we can't get traction.
Well, I mean,
I was looking through it.
One thing is that we're just not consistent.
Yeah,
it's
we're
like,
not consistent
again, we kind of throw stuff on TikTok to test things, or just because we upload it.
I would definitely say that TikTok is our test bed for short form content.
Yeah, you had a number of them like kind of pop off, getting like the couple dozen thousand views and stuff. But yeah, that's the thing for me. It's like I have a format, like you've seen it. I have monoxide highlights or whatever, and then I occasionally have a video. Like for example, I just got to ride along with Vaughn the other day, and that was only like 500 views on TikTok. It's like motherfucker, but it's like then I had a similar video. Like it gets more on Shorts. So it's weird going from platform to platform, but at the end of the day, the more things you throw it at, the more likely it is to succeed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, the people that subscribe for the Monoxide podcast clips, or they find some of that stuff interesting on your TikTok, they don't give a crap about Vaughn or riding in a car or drifting.
Like some of
or
them do,
any
but
the other
not
stuff.
everyone. Yeah.
You know, and yeah, it's like it's almost a thing because especially being so, I guess to a certain extent, scatterbrained about content and just enjoying everything. Like then you, with that, it dilutes your audience. You know, it dilutes not your authenticity, like, but you're so scatterbrained that even though you're passionate about everything, or you could see everything, like your audience isn't. They subscribe for the things that you were putting out, and so, you know, I think it's like you almost have to kind of stay on a path, you know, to a certain extent with them, or unless your path is just freaking crazy from the beginning. And,
go crazy.
And then you can just go crazy on everything, which is what I would personally like to do. I like everything, so.
Well, on that note, I want to be respectful of your guys' time. Obviously, we're still at SEMA. We still have a lot of things to enjoy here. But we do have the usual 3 questions, which Charles introduced back at Texas 2K. He wanted to do 5 because he's a lunatic. But the question goes like this. If you were to have an unlimited budget, let's say you won the Powerball or something, and you had an unlimited imagination, this is usually the hard part for everybody. They suck at having an unlimited imagination. You have to choose 3 cars. This tells us a little bit about you and your tastes, which, I mean, we see a little bit through your channel, but nonetheless, you have to choose a daily, a show car, and a track car.
Man, it's
a tough one, isn't it?
That's tough.
Yeah.
Well, and then
I know your daily.
The other thing.
I know your daily.
You know my daily? How do you know my daily?
Well, your current dream daily.
What is my current dream daily? All right, let's do what Charles thinks it
What
is.
Charles
and then
thinks.
335D.
You think that's my dream daily?
Just like right now. You won't shut up about it.
That's not my dream. All right,
I'm just kidding.
What's my track car?
Porsche.
And then what's my show car?
You wouldn't do one that you already own. No, Datsun.
You think?
Datsun.
So I'm going to agree with him on the Datsun. My Datsun would probably be, to a certain extent, the show car. I think a track car.
I mean, if we're saying unlimited budget.
When you say unlimited budget.
I'm saying you sold a windmill company and you got $3 billion in a bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then I would have lots of track cars.
No, but
we'll start with
you
one.
limited to 3.
But I wouldn't be limited
You
to
have
3.
to.
We know.
I
Them's the
wouldn't,
rules.
You have to pick your number
I
one.
wouldn't be limited to 3 at all. Now what you need to say is you need to give me the limitation. You say, okay, you have $10,000 for each, or $50,000
No,
for
how about
each.
this? You can't buy a new house, so you live in a bungalow with a 3-car garage.
Yeah.
You just can't.
You live on an island and you have 3 parking spaces.
I would buy another island. I'd buy a bigger island. That's what I would do. So plenty more parking
Okay,
spots.
no money involved. Free cars. 3 cars.
Who told you could change the rules at a show?
Hey, listen, I'm the one who came up with the rule.
Well,
that's
so I need to have more baseline because everything. Like part of me, I'm like, okay, well, I want to do like a build. Like
Give me
a
a gut.
build.
Give me a gut.
We had somebody do a Judd V10 in a crazy kit car. That was like one of their things.
Yeah.
So like, if you,
I
that's
mean-
what I'm saying. Imagination's the limit. It's like, what kind of build would you do for a track car?
I need like constraints, I guess, because then I don't even know because I go all over the place.
All right,
I'm
for-
like,
would it be JDM? Would it be exotic? Would it be?
I think a budget would be my like. But if I got $3 billion, I'm gonna
Give
have
him a
3
realistic
cars.
budget. Like,
That's my
300?
problem as I start thinking about it. And I'm
300. What
Like,
kind of peasants do you think I have on this show?
I mean, that's fair. A milli.
Sure.
Your budget's a milli each.
Sure, Charles.
a
can
million each? Fuck, that's too much.
$100,000 each.
help. If you were to go
That's
pick a track car on that floor out there, is there anything you would pick from what you've seen?
Man.
I think that's a better question. Like, what's the best track car
I mean,
you've seen here?
I think
what's the
if
best
I
daily
just
you've seen here?
wanted to have a car that worked, I mean, you can't really argue with like a Porsche GT3 RS to just take it to the track and enjoy it.
That's a
because
pretty
they're
standard answer on the
so
show.
good, but I would probably do that and a Miata.
Okay.
Like I think
Okay.
that would be like the two like opposites because I feel like you'd almost have more fun on the Miata to a
For like
certain extent.
autocross and such. Yeah.
Yeah, and then as far as like a daily, I mean, it's such a weird thing because like I would almost rather have a limited budget, and you had to pick the things because if you have an unlimited budget, then you have 10 dailies, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like
Ask him how many cars he owns currently.
How many cars do you currently
38.
38?
Yeah, but they're not like there's some shells, there's some project cars, there's dailies, there's
Currently.
trucks, there's other stuff like
Currently.
that. Yeah, this question is a challenge for me because I need more rules.
So we
'Cause it
have
depends.
GT3 RS, Datsun, and then what's your daily?
RSQ8 is a very popular one. R6 Savant. Seems like Audis are just good at making dailies. Urus.
I think you're a big fan of the BMW wagon, right?
Yeah, the BMW. Like
The
a
M3
maybe like a
Touring.
R6 Avant. I'd probably want something a little bit special. But again, like if I have unlimited money, I don't.
What
I
about
don't
like a
want
Shelby
one.
truck or something?
I'd probably just get like an F250.
F250?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like diesel F250. Like it's just a great day that you could do everything with it. And that's like almost where if you gave me like you had to have one car, you had two cars, and they had to do everything. What would you pick? I'd be like, okay, well I'd get an F250 because I could,
Right.
like truck trailer, you could tow with it, you could haul things with it, you
Daily.
could daily drive it, you could take it to the grocery store, you could do everything with it. You could also kind of race it, you can make it kind of fast. You could do a lot of things with an F250. And then as far as like a track car, you'd be like, well, I don't know. Like it would have to be a track car / show car / something else.
Street
Yeah.
car.
All of that. So then what would you pick?
Dailyable.
Dailyable car as well. Then I'd probably be like, oh, I want like
Porsche.
a freaking C6 Z06.
Oh, buddy.
Like something like that, or a ZR1, in that kind of category. So I don't know. That's a tough question for me because my mind just goes.
Just goes crazy. Yeah.
Well, I want constraints. Constraints is where I thrive.
Yeah.
If you give me unlimited, I just don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
Because
Kind
I'm
of like when I got to the show, I was just like, I don't even know where to go.
Yeah, because then like part of me was like, okay, like a Bugatti, but I'm like, what am I gonna do with a Bugatti?
Put a K series in it.
Jump it. K-series in a Bugatti. Fucking
Like I want to
lunatic.
get a Bugatti so that way, like again, if you had one car, well, I'd get the most expensive car and then I'd sell it and then buy other cars that I actually wanted.
Yeah,
Like,
that's usually how that question goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. Well, nonetheless, I'm very grateful for you guys coming on the show, of course, especially during SEMA. It's such an awesome week here. I really am excited to watch what happens with the channel. So tell people where everybody can find you, I suppose.
Yeah, so it's just MotionAutoTV on pretty much everything. So
He likes to jumble that up. It's MotionAutoTV.
MotionAutoTV.
And then you, Charles, if people care at all, where should they find you?
C4 Productions on Instagram. I really don't care about people finding me. I'm working for this guy right now, and that's kind of where I'm focused in my capacity. And I think C4 will eventually come back one day, but Motion Auto's the way forward right now.
Hey, the way I see it, man, is like when you help the people around you grow, it's gonna help you grow. Like that guy right there, that's sitting over there, like that. I'm helping him grow as much as I can, and he's that's why I'm having as many podcasts as I am today. So that's just how it is, man. As long as we all help each other. I mean, we're a tight knit community. We're all about creating cool shit, doing cool shit. So
we're all good friends too. So it's always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks for having
we'll do
us.
that.
I appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And you guys are on the Monoxide channel, so you've already found me. So I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Later.